recording.
Oh, mate, no worries.
And right, so I'll go 3, 2, 1. Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 16 of the Football Uncensored podcast. For the moment, it's myself and John keeping the pot boiling. John, how's things? Welcome. Good to see you.
Yeah, you too, Joe. Yeah, good. Yeah, getting better every day, getting stronger every day.
Yeah.
Still doing me bits and pieces, and you got to keep going, just ticking over until we can get back to a semblance of normality.
Yeah, definitely. Well, it seems like the vaccine's going well, and I think Boris said that this is an irreversible move away from lockdown. So that sounds like we're on the path to things opening up a little bit more. So it'll be exciting to get the gang together. Hopefully, I can take a step back, and the three of you can do maybe live podcasts. Who knows? Back at the casino, the way it was before. That's
either that or you compare it.
Yeah. Well, okay. Well, we'll see what people think.
You the MC.
Interested to get people's feedback because they might think I'm rubbish. In which case, no point. But they might think I'm good. But anyway, right. Talking football. Obviously, it's a very action-packed week. We're kind of halfway through. Fulham and Burnley are playing out boring 0-0. It's half time. I doubt there'll be many goals in the second half. But yeah,
it's a draw written all over it.
Whether
it stays that way or not, moment of inspiration or inevitably goals can all be more or less, I'll say, probably well over 90% of the time traced back to a mistake somewhere.
Yeah.
So you don't know.
Don't know, but I think certainly a very good initial half of the week for Man City. A sort of predictable demolishing of Spurs, and obviously Leicester got beat. Liverpool got beat at Leicester, and yeah, Man United drew. So a really good week for Man City. Probably worth touching on the Leicester-Liverpool result, and probably flattered Leicester because obviously Liverpool 1-0 up. Scored 3 goals very quickly. I think 7 minutes they scored. But yeah, interesting to get your assessment on that game and what would Klopp be feeling, because this is probably the worst period he's had as Liverpool manager.
Yeah, I agree. Probably the most testing time at the minute, although they responded magnificently last night. I would think Saturday, though. I mean, you don't know whether it's someone just like pulling a pin and throwing one in. The rumour mill said that on Saturday there was a big bust up or a big tantrum or a big rant in the dressing room after the game, and you can't blame him. I thought Liverpool, when they took the lead, when you look at the unbelievable skill to set it up and the execution from Salah, it's just unbelievable goal. And then I looked at it and I just thought to myself, they're playing a dangerous game here, Liverpool, because even though they're not particularly good and workmanlike, but they obviously they offer just unbelievable things, Firmino, Salah, Mane. So the pressing from the front thing, I'm looking at that and I'm thinking to myself, why? And I said it before, and they said, shut the fuck up, what you talking about, But and the geezer's done this and the geezer's done that, but I just think it's like massively relevant. Why would you continue to try and press high and leave so much grass in behind, so much ground in behind, so much of the pitch in behind, when you're up against probably the most prolific striker in terms of exploiting it in recent Premier League history? That's Jamie Vardy, who I'm absolutely praying that he's got something to do with England in the Euros, because then we'll have an abundance of options and alternatives with regards to him, Harry Kane, and maybe Calvert-Lewin at Everton. I'm assuming there'd be the three that are penciled in. And then I'm looking at the response. I'm looking with regards to Liverpool sort of almost waiting for somebody else to take the initiative. I was looking at Henderson, who was looking at the kid at centre back, who was looking across at Trent Alexander-Arnold, and I thought it was a combination of laziness and attitude, because there's a couple of times, and I actually mentioned it before in the previous episode about the recovery runs of Trent Alexander-Arnold and how alarmed I was at the fact the way he defended against Manchester City, and all this game did was basically underline that. And like three goals in quick succession. One was a mix-up with the goalkeeper. I don't know what the goalkeeper. Just before you even asked the question, I don't even know what the goalkeeper's doing now. Right, the goalkeeper. Right, listen, what I'm going to say to you. When the ball goes forward, the goalkeeper should come up. When the ball comes towards you, the goalkeeper should step back. Right. So what you're looking at up and back in relation to good distance between him and the back three or the back four. Right. And good distance between the amount of grass that's left, so that what's coming of it, when you're coaching it, you're looking for a goalkeeper to take a very bold starting position, right? What you say, I want a nice bold starting position. So if it's one of them balls that's like clipped into the grass, into the open space, into the ground, in behind the defenders, and it's like slightly over it, it just should be one bounce and he gathers it into his hands. He's come out like when he really and truly should be backpedaling and getting set, because I thought the centre back he had it under control. It was slightly under hit, and I thought he got onto it well when he had it under control. And then they've come out, boom, you know what I mean? And I think it was Vardy was left with a tap-in, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it's funny as well on the one that I think there's a second mistake he made where he kind of panicked, and instead of clearing it, he basically passed it straight to a Leicester player who then crossed it and they scored. What I found interesting about that, I don't know if you agree, but ordinarily, I guess, you know, from when, you know, football was first invented, the first instinct of a player, whether it's a goalkeeper or an outfield player, when there's danger, is just to get rid of it, just kick it in the stands. But there's obviously this prevalence or real sort of push now for players to be, or for goalkeepers to be, sweeper keepers. And it was almost like his instinct was to pass it when he was under the cosh. So I guess my question to you is, based on your point there, you know, has the sweeper keeper thing got a little bit silly now?
Without a shadow of a doubt. You've got, it might be, I don't know if it's the pot calling the kettle black, although we was always encouraged at Chelsea to take the ball off the goalkeeper and try and play through the thirds, even from a kid. But the bottom line is, what you coach, you could coach alternatives, Joe. You can coach how to play out through the three thirds. But what you should be doing, in my opinion, whether it's Gareth Southgate all the way down to any club manager, you should be also advising so that you're actually coaching common sense. I don't see the point in trying to play through the three thirds or play out from the back. There's this, I think I've said it to you before in a previous interview. I know I've said it on other interviews, other podcasts. I saw a session. I used to be a member of the London Coaches Association. So what it was an initiative brought about by the likes of Bob Wilson, an ex-school teacher called Alex Welsh, who was used to do quite a lot for the London Football Association. And what they used to do, they got all this membership of all like local coaches, London coaches, and they'd have a big dinner at the end of the season. And during the season, every other week, there'd be a guest appearance of a coach who would come in and put on a session that was born of initiative, maybe a little bit sort of at times radical, sometimes a bit of a revelation. I remember seeing a session called, it was entitled The Keeper, the Deeper Sweeper. And it was put on by John Cartwright, who had this thing, and it was done at the indoor facility at Arsenal Football Club, right? So this shows how long ago it was. It was at Highbury, where they had the thing, and it brought back memories flooding back to when I trained there as a 12-year-old, but it was like red grit that I trained on. It was now AstroTurf, right? So he put a session on. Then a couple of weeks later, David O'Leary put a session on. Then Alan Curbishley put a session on. Then Bob Wilson put a session on. And it really was a font of knowledge. You know what I mean? This is not a new phenomenon. You know what I mean? Because I saw it coached like all this time ago, 25, 26, 27 years ago. I think I was still at Orient. I think I was youth coach. I don't think I had the first team job yet. And unbelievable session, cracking session it was by Cartwright, Johnny Cartwright, who I've shared the odd social with back in the day, and So like I say, this is not a new phenomenon to me. But the point I want to make is, and when you coach it, I think alongside it, you should coach common sense. I don't see why, and this is it in a nutshell. If you've got a makeshift back four, if you've got a makeshift back four with like a reserve left back, as it was on the day, because the Flying Scotsman weren't there, Trent Alexander-Arnold, I think, is having an absolute Western for at least the last 6 weeks. And I think it's affected his confidence. His body language is diabolical. It's decrepit. His reaction is very, very poor and unprofessional, I think, because what I've always coached with players, if you're trying to get back at someone very, very quickly, right? I'm going to make this very quick coaching point. If you've been beat or you're trying to get back at someone or you're trying to get in position, right? I always used to coach. What you do initially, you explode and then the rest comes easy. You explode and you overcompensate slightly. So with that in mind, what it is, you're coaching a mindset. And I'll look at Trent Alexander-Arnold. I think his recovery runs are absolutely borderline diabolical. It's like what we used to call, when we was training, you'd do a run to warm up. Then you'd do, like, if you were doing stride outs, the coach would say, right, I want a 0.5 effort. And then he'd say, I want a 0.75 effort. So it's not quite a sprint, right? When I'm looking at him and it's below a 0.5 effort. So it's between a jog and half pace. Whereas what he should have been coached, or what he should be the clock screaming at him, is initially explode, like a starting gun's gone off. And then what you do, it gives you that mindset to really bust the gut, to get in behind and get goal side of the ball and the man again. You understand what I mean?
Yeah.
But sticking to the original point, I don't understand for the life of me. I can't understand for the life of me as a goalkeeper, where the best goalkeepers and the best goalkeeping performance, right, born of my experience, having been in and around a professional environment since the age of 12, is a goalkeeper who's redundant. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
He's had nothing to do. The team's played so well, and they've kept him so well protected, he becomes redundant.
Yeah, it's like a good ref. You don't know they exist.
You don't notice them. Yeah. You don't notice them. You don't even know they're out there. Whereas it's the flip side of the coin. I've seen a couple of games where I think, I didn't realise he was playing. You know what I mean? With regards to outfield players. So the opposite, right? But a good goalkeeper is redundant, or a good team performance makes the goalkeeper redundant. What he's done, he's taken it to the nth degree, the opposite end of things, and to the nth degree, whereby he's had a little dabble on the ball, and he's induced pressure on himself, and then he's played a hurried pass that's put a makeshift back four under more pressure. I don't get it. I do not get it. You saw the result.
Yeah, I mean, so fascinating for me to hear that, a lot of these things. I mean, you mentioned before about the Gunga press and the press from the front. You mentioned that's been going for years, and Ian Rush being one of the best at doing it, and the Liverpool team in the 70s and 80s defending from the front. So a lot of these kind of, I guess, what someone of my age would consider to be a new revolutionary style of playing football and tactics, actually are just rehashed, or seemingly slightly rehashed theories based on stuff that's happened before. And is it, in terms of modern day management, do you think there's an element of managers being much better at PR now than what they were in the old days? And they've got a very slick PowerPoint presentation where they, and I guess they're talking to often owners of clubs that may not necessarily know about the history of coaching, and they're putting these things out there as new, completely revolutionary ideas, when actually they're not. And should we be holding these managers to task a little bit more, these coaches to task a little bit more than we are? Where we look at foreign managers coming in, that Pep Guardiola, it was the only man on earth that worked out that there was a goalkeeper that was being underutilized as a footballer. Jurgen Klopp was one of the first proponents of the Gegenpress at Borussia Dortmund. Are they getting a bit of a free pass? Are they not quite as revolutionary and mystical as we think?
Yeah, no, in a nutshell, no, they're not. They're not. I mean, if you listen, Guardiola, it's like I've said in my book, entitled, a little bit sarcastically, a little knowledge is a dangerous thing. Yeah. And at the same time, it's a nod to my profession for the last 18 years as a black cab driver, having done the knowledge, right? In answer to your question, I've said in the book that a lot of the game is based on plagiarism. And if you could trace Guardiola's his methods or his ideology back to the likes of Johan Cruyff, which in turn can be traced back to Rinus Michels. I don't know how you pronounce it, Rinus Michels, Dutch coach, Ajax, where Cruyff would have picked it up from.
Yeah.
With regards to the press from the front, depending on your players, like you've rightly said, I mean, it was started at Liverpool. I actually come up against it. I mean, the front two that day were Dalglish and David Johnson. So a Scottish international centre forward and an England international centre forward. And as soon as anyone in the back four at Chelsea got it, they were going in and bending in to try and quarter the pitch off and restrict your options. You know what I mean? And pressing from the front that way. But no doubt about it, he was the governor at it, Rush, because he had that bit of extra pace. But no, it's not a new phenomenon. And it's like I've always said with regards to, you're talking about PowerPoint presentations and blah, blah, blah. This is what I said from the minute you go in. I think it's a coach's duty to use his imagination and question things. So this is why I've said with regards to things like the FA syllabus, it's about time we started to go off slightly at a tangent and bring in new things other than role play, which I experienced when I went up there in '97. I was in the inaugural group.
Yeah, I remember saying, yeah.
Yeah, the inaugural group that converted to the UEFA A. Now they've added another Mickey Mouse qualification, like the pro license or whatever it's called. And all I found, I'll be honest with you, Joe, I found it was the same stuff. You said rehashed, I call it regurgitated, because having to listen to it really. I mean, I had a couple of things up there, heated debates with one of them was with Jimmy Armfield, and he basically tried to ridicule me. I'd just been sacked by Leyton Orient. And he said, because everyone knows who everyone is up there. They do their own work on you. They know your background. They know your name. They know where you're from. They know what club you was at. Just remind me, who do you work for again? I just said, I'm unemployed at the moment, Jim. And he sort of nodded and smiled and looked away. It's, all the like smug prick with all this like fucking iron fist in a velvet glove and all that bollocks. And it was like embarrassing. I just said, what we on the fucking set of EastEnders here? They was doing role play between a mate of mine who was making out he was a manager and someone else who was making out he was a player. They're both ex-players and coaches. And then the latest one is social awareness and mental well-being. And yet it astonishes me, which I'm going to put in my second book as far as I know, that certain things haven't been put in place to educate coaches on other things, or as well as. Yeah. If you want to subscribe to that, which I'll be honest with you, I sort of repeated the thing on Sunday night with the like Prince William, and the footballers there. It was Danny Rose, Henri Crouch. Who else was there? Southgate. Who's sitting next to Southgate? Jermaine Genius. I thought it was a really good program, and I could see a lot of parallels there. But sooner or later, you know, it's got to come down to what I believe it's always come down to, and it's at the end of the day, as cliched as it sounds, really and truly, like football's nothing without the supporters. But then to bring the supporters in, it's about the players, and to make the players, you need top drawer coaches. It's like a thing. It's an intricately woven web that all knits together. And I just think there's loads of stuff, loads and loads of stuff missing. And to me, quite clearly, see, you know, like you listen on Talk Sport, you hear someone like Simon Jordan saying, you know, like football is like cyclical. You know, that you have your ups and your downs, your peaks and your valleys, and or you know, it goes round, and someone will have a bit of success, and then like Liverpool never won a title for 30 years, then last year they win the title. All right, so that was a long cycle. Okay, don't get me wrong, it was a long cycle, but it's the same with coaching. You know, stuff comes in, and then all
history
all the other
repeats
stuff.
itself, doesn't it? You know, I'm a historian, and that's what they say. You know, because eventually people forget. And then they feel like they've invented something when actually it's always been done before.
Yeah, here we are. What, 2021? 22 years off of me running out at Stamford Bridge versus Liverpool, who were basically champions, European champions, FA Cup winners, you name it, they entered it, they won it. So 22, 40, and 21, that's like 43 years ago. Right, and you know, they were doing it 43 years ago. So, yeah, I think it's a valid point. I just think like a new crop of coaches come along, and they might use a different terminology. They might use a different way of putting the session on, but it's the same subject matter.
Yeah, I mean, you know me. I like a metaphor, and you know, I've been thinking about sort of football as, I think I've mentioned it before, like a battle, and you know, the league is the war, and ultimately there's only a certain amount of military tactics you've got to try and win the battle, and similarly, there's got to be only a certain amount of tactics in the book to try and win a game of football. You know, it's a game. It's a game of rules.
That's right. And then in the end, like I said in my book, again, in the end, it comes down to basically who's got the best 11 players. Because I'll go on about like all this, what you used to hear from coaches, win your 1v1s, and you know, and then we'll get on top of them, and then we're going to play this way, we're going to play direct, and then we're not going to play direct, then we're going to play direct again, and this is how we're going to defend, and these are the set pieces. The set pieces, I've only got to look at England and Russia. Steve Holland is the coach. I think that's his name. He worked under Dario Gradi. Dario Gradi was doing the goal that England scored, where you got two people on the ball, and then you got a couple of people. Everyone's over one side. Then a couple of people do a little jog. It's like an American football
playbook.
You know, playbook. Yeah. So the two run over it. Well, Dario used to do it when I was a kid at Chelsea, and he did it in the 80s when he was manager of Crewe, and I played against him. Two a jog over there. You get the scout and report. It's sorted. You win the first ball. If you can't win the first ball, you've got to make sure you get the second one. Let's head it back across. So I said, I'm sitting there, I'm saying to him, he's just going to tickle this to the side. And that's what happened. Right. So you got two people on the ball, and everyone's going, oh, it's a revelation. Well, ain't it? It was being done in the 80s.
All right. So,
listen, this is the free kick. This is the free kick. Right. Yeah. The man standing on the ball, which I think was Henderson, he tickles it to his left. It gets chopped to the far post. So like stood up, what we call chopped, right? Stood up to the far post. And then it gets headed back across the goal. And everybody that's jogged 30 seconds earlier from one place to the other, they've got a little nod in at the far post, which I think was Harry Kane. It was being done in the 80s. There's nothing that, again, I'll remark in my book, so I'm sorry, I think it's just one of them things tonight, right? There's nothing that hasn't been tried. Right. So it's back to your point, slick PR, selling yourself, getting emotional on the touchline. In the case of a couple of pundits, you know, some would say I probably needed it myself ages ago. A bit of plastic surgery, new set of teeth.
Yeah, je ne sais quoi. Yeah.
You understand what I'm trying to say?
Nice whistle and all that.
Yeah, and all the rest of it. And they do the PowerPoint presentation, and then they're media friendly and blah, blah, blah.
All right. So I'm going to put you on the spot then, but if feel free to swerve this one, but have a think about it. You have got to devise your own PowerPoint presentation. So all these other managers got their blueprints. Allardyce, you know, your ex-nemesis, has got his blueprint. You know, Brendan Rodgers has got his blueprint. All these top managers have got them now. They've got their set PowerPoint presentation. When they get the sack, they apply for jobs and they give the standard presentation. Presumably, I don't know. I'm guessing, right? I'm guessing, and basically it's up to the owners as to whether or not they choose which PowerPoint presentations they choose, which solution they choose to their problem.
Apparently, that's how he got the England job, wasn't it?
All right. So, what's your presentation? What's your blueprint?
26 years ago, whenever it was now, 26, I think it's 26 years ago, I called the old Leighton Orient chairman who was putting the money in for Frank Clark and Peter Eustace. His name was Tony Wood. So I said, can I just ask when you're next at the ground? And then when he told me, I said, well, if it's all right with you, I'd like to arrange a meeting, because I'm at the stage now where I think we've got to think about how we take the club forward. And the foundations we need to lay, and this is what we need to do. Actually, I think that's what happened. I read it. I don't know if it's a made up story by the media or whatever, but apparently the apparatus, when Sam was doing it for England, I think it failed, and he had to do it Yeah, do it orally. Yeah, just off the top of his head. He couldn't do the thing with the slides and the. Anyway, I basically, we never had any of that gizmo. We had an old blackboard that was so old it couldn't take the chalk, right? What I've done is I wrote it all out on pieces of A4, and I put about 12 pieces of A4 on how I wanted to run and restructure the club. And then I did the same with Phil Wallace. So we had the caretaker chairman, Derek Weinrabe, while Tony Wood was being rescued in Rwanda. Then Tony came back and I did it for him. Then I did it for Phil Wallace, who was going to leave Boreham Wood, so like a corner shop, and then try and buy Sainsbury's. So, you know, to coin a metaphor, draw an analogy. And then lastly, I just thought enough of this, and I just put it in a folder for Barry Earn with quite a few additions. And I think probably financially it frightened the life out of him. And ultimately it turned out he's probably realised what I told him. Although, no, he'd have read the script. I think he'd have read the script quite soon, very early, with all because he had all the showbiz, didn't he? All the walk-ons from celebrities and all that. And I did say to him that Leyton Orient is not a commercially viable football club. And I told him the story of when I was at Chelsea, and we were in the top division, and we were looking down, having drawn them in the cup. And there was a couple of cup ties in the early 70s, and then towards the late 70s. They were always top 6, top 7 in what is now the Championship. And I said they were getting crowds of 6,000, 7,000 then. So I said, so it's not really economically viable. And I just think like the financial implications of the way I wanted to do it, I think maybe frightened him a little bit. And he obviously, not talking out of turn or out of school, I just think, you know, it's been proven that he probably had his own agenda in terms of what way he wanted to go with the club and how he wanted to run the club. In answer to your question, I'm laughing at all the Brentford stuff. I'm laughing my tits off. All this Moneyball malarkey, right? It's so they give it a name. You know what I mean? They've given it a name. They've given it a name taken from
book about baseball.
Well, yeah, it's the film. What's it for? Brad Pitt and that Jonas something.
It's a Michael Lewis book, isn't it? Yeah, but based on that that coach.
Well, you got to call it. What you got to give it an American name for? Well, you got to get. It's just common sense. You get listen what I'm going to say. You work your way back. Players physically get to 30 and it's downhill from there. You're at your physical peak as a man. This ties in with my theories and philosophies, and then going into other things, you know, like Eastern philosophy and particularly martial arts and that kind of thing. I think life, I believe what they say, because it's personal to me and it ties in with my experiences. Life goes in 7-year cycles, right? And at 28, it's your 4th life cycle. And you're at as a man, right? I don't know how old you are, Joe, but as a man, you would have been, or you are about to be at your absolute physical peak at the age of 28. A footballer, when he gets to the age of 30, I'm going to come to something here, by the way. Physically, it's downhill.
No, go on.
No, listen. Physically, it's downhill, right?
Yeah.
And I've lived it. I've experienced it. I was told it, and I just shut up. As long as you look at yourself and and you've got your stretching program. No, it don't work like that. What it is, you get certain areas that are not very good in terms of circulation. So I'm talking lower leg, I'm talking ankle, I'm talking Achilles, I'm talking calf, I'm talking the gastrocnemius and the soleus, which is the big lump of the calf, and then the outside of the calf. This is where players start picking up little strains and little pulls and little tugs. Then maybe the hamstring, then maybe something on the hip, right? Because it's a circulatory problem, right? Because of your age, right? So what you do, you work your way backwards to that, and then you say, right, that's a player's peak. So then what was part of my blueprint 26 years ago, I didn't call it Moneyball. I just said it's common sense. And it's basically the polar opposite of what's happened under the previous 2 incumbents, right? They might have spent money and they might have recouped some money, but it's no good being, being nonplussed, having like a zero in your account, right? And a zero net spend if you're going to get relegated and you're not pushing for promotion. You know, if I'm a chairman, I say, right, okay, your net spend, you've performed miracles, you've kept it at zilch. What you've pulled in as much as you've laid out. Right, but it's no good to me if I'm not pushing for the playoffs. It's no good to me having a net spend of 0 if we're in the relegation zone, which we was when I took over, right?
But I know this is based on your experience, but is that not just the parameters that a lot of managers in the Premier League are having to deal with? like your Sean Dyches, like, your Roy Hodgsons?
No, I don't believe that.
Okay,
no.
That's interesting. Yeah.
No. Others have got more money to spend. I said I'm going to come to something. This is what I'm going to come to. Liverpool had just spent. I cut it out, and the clock was moaning at the owners, or allegedly, supposedly moaning at the owners about not being provided with funds for reinforcements. And I think the prime example, really, with regards to maybe how desperate he is or was, he laid out something like in excess of 20 million, I think it was 23, 24, 25 million for a 29-year-old, right? So then you had his signing on fee, then you maybe had his agent's fees, then you had his salary. No way, shape or form are you going to get anywhere near that money recouped. You're not going to, because you're too old. You understand? There's nowhere to go. You get, and from what I'm led to believe, he ain't even being included, and thought of in terms of like guaranteed automatic first team football, right? So really, he's paid in excess of 20 odd million for a 29-year-old with no chance. Well, this much lower down on a much lower scale, a much lesser
it's the
scale.
same premise, yeah.
Yeah, this is what I experienced and what I inherited at Leyton Orient. So what I'm trying to say, I'm coming from the viewpoint of you've got to invest in building it up from the foundations, from the
grassroots. Yeah.
Right. Now this ties in with the coaching side of it. Right. Because I remember a question in front of me at Lilleshall, someone asking Don Howe about organising a pre-season programme. And he said, well, I'm not prepared to tell you how we do it at Arsenal. He said, but I'll give you some advice. Right. Well, that's how I'd be. And then what you've got to do, you've got to get people in, you've got to get them, if you get them on long-term contract, medium to long-term contracts. They start off on short contracts, and then if they're tried and trusted and their blood becomes your blood, they're like your coaching brothers and sisters, right? At the end of the day, right, you get them on long-term contract because they're precious, right, to the football club. They're vital to the football club. And then what you do is to get them to sign confidentiality agreements, and there's no way that the stuff that you're doing should be leaked out, because the syllabus that I wanted to put in place, I think would have made a more complete footballer, a better all-round footballer. And I wanted to build it from the bottom up. And when I showed the chairman, those were my PowerPoints with regards to age groups, the coaches that I wanted involved with the age groups. It might shock people, but I don't care. I wanted a slush. When I put the portfolio into Barrier, and I said, off the record, I want a slush fund. And I guarantee it won't be abused. You've got my word and my loyalty on that. And then I said loyalty twice. And he said, look, I don't really like the use of that word. He said, because when I spoke to Mickey Duff, when I was just going into boxing, Mickey Duff said to me, if you want loyalty, buy a dog. So I just said to him, well, that's a totally different arena. Pardon the pun, it's a totally different sport, and you're dealing with totally different people and a different mindset down through the decades, right? This is football, and if you want to compete, right, with regards to getting the best kids in, you need a slush fund. And I've got no qualms, I've got no embarrassment whatsoever in admitting that if I wanted to go after a kid and his dad said, well, Arsenal have offered us, and I don't know, I ain't going to say Arsenal, any club, right? They've offered his mum a new kitchen. I'd have gone, well, all right, okay, up to a certain amount of money, we'll match that. You understand?
Yeah, because you're investing in the future.
You're investing in the future, and what it is, you're buying money.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying, Joe? You're buying money. If you know the kid's going to make it, like I knew Darren Purse was going to make it, well, I had him from the age of 13, I knew he was going to make it, barring injury. And I used to tell him how to manage his life and manage his body so that he never got any injuries, right? I had him from the age of 13. I knew he was going to be a pro, and he was in the first team by the time he was 17. So what you're doing, if you look after him, you're buying money. Although the amount he was sold for was laughable, but
okay,
they got a sell on, right? This is like top drawer, super duper negotiators and businessmen, Earn and Goodall, right? But they got 75 grand something ish off of Oxford, and they got the sell on. I've been over this story before, right? But very quickly, I said to people, well, how does that make sense for this super duper negotiator? You get like a 30% sell on. So Oxford sold him for £1 million. Right, so they've had no say whatsoever in the kid's upbringing and his what he's been coached and the habits he's been taught and the time that's been spent on him and the time that's been put on into him, right? And then what they've done is cost them a bit of wages and a 75 grand initial fee. They've waltzed off with like 700 grand, and Leyton Orient got another 300 grand. So they've got 375 grand net for £1 million player. How does that make sense?
Well, it seems to me like there isn't many other people that you've got a long-term view. It seems to me, just for how you explain that, an ultra long-term view of
no.
As in, but wanting to.
No. Look, I'm sorry to intercede. Part of the thing was part of the blueprint. This is how we manage the short and medium term. Because I was fired for the last 5 games of the previous season, and then very quickly into the new season. I said, this is how we approach this situation with regards to the firefighting in the short term, and then dare I say it, medium term. Right. So this is why I said it's got to be knitted in. You need a core element of homegrown players. You need to keep the conveyor belt with that core element of homegrown players. So at a club like Leyton Orient, what you need to turn them over to a certain amount for a certain amount of time while you're trying to build a promotion winning side that might have like I said to Barry, and you might have the odd promotion and a few cup runs. But then what you've got to do, you've got to expect to take one on the chin where like Crew, you might get relegated once in a blue moon pancake day. But in the meantime, you've produced and sold 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 players, right? Which I think is probably about the total since I left. Some total since I left. I'm talking about doing it over 2 or 3 years. What you do, you knit it in with pillaging non-league, especially at that level, because all due respect to Leyton Orient, as has been proved, it's a glorified non-league club in terms of gate, location, status now, right? And then what you do, you pillage non-league, like top drawer experienced non-league players who are looking for a chance. Pros who have been released, young pros who have been released who are looking for a second chance, and maybe the odd loan if someone's coming back to fitness or looking to make their way in the game, which someone like Harry Kane did. He went to Orient, he went to Millwall, he went to Leicester. You know what I mean? And it suited both parties. These are the type of things that you've got to have, and that's got to be done and managed on a weekly basis, if not daily basis. So they're the sort of type of, and then it's down to the rest of my PowerPoints were about coaching syllabus, age groups and coaches. And the coaches, I actually handpicked the coaches that I wanted in charge of specific age groups because I knew their personality would suit that age group.
Yeah, wow. It just seems like there's, just as there's competing in, like say Barry Hearn. But not even necessarily talking about him, but just in football clubs, you just have got a very clear idea of what you want to do, and it's a big vision. It just seems like all business, there's people in it that just want a quick buck and move on to the next thing.
You're spot on. You just mentioned 2 clubs. I mean, Burnley, they seem to have survived without any supporters, right? And yet their only complaint to Sean Dyche is like, well, we don't get very big gates, we don't get very big attendances. Well, that's because of demographics, right? You'll find that area, that particular area, it's like Leyton and Leytonstone, particular demographics. They don't follow football; they follow cricket. Right, so straight away he's on. You could say he's on a sticky wicket. Right? You know what I mean? But Dyche now, someone said to me, is he at a stage now where his chance has been and gone? And I'd say like borderline yes.
Right? Like the Eddie Howe sort of situation, yeah.
Well, not just that. He's been at one club too long, and then like people were touting him for bigger jobs. I thought he would have made a fantastic manager in terms of strength and vision, like they needed at the time. West Ham, or they went and got Moyes. They give him a second chance. He's gone back there, and he ain't looked back. Right, but that's due to different circumstances. You mentioned Crystal Palace. That's a classic example. Roy Hodgson, I said 2 weeks ago on this podcast, or last week on this podcast, he can't keep being expected, especially at his age, to keep. He delegates to his staff, but Ray Lewington's a bit older than me. I was at Chelsea with him. He's 2 years older than me, so he must be knocking on 63, 64. Roy's about 72, 73. You can't keep asking them to pull rabbits out of hats. And if you look at their last couple of performances, they were professional embarrassment. They were a disgrace. They were a disgrace. They were mistakes that you would expect of an under 15 side, under 14 side, right? They were. Look at the one where he's played the give and go, and the left back. He looked forlornly at the linesman. Ain't you going to put your flag up? The right back's played a give and go, and then he's run it on a bit more. And then the left back that Allardyce bought, he's come out to engage him. He's just gone fucking smashed straight through him out the way, son. and then played another give and go, got the thing and volleyed it in the far corner. Embarrassing. Embarrassing. Everything from start to finish was embarrassing. So that's hit a brick wall, that club. That's hit a brick wall. And the reason it's hit a brick wall is he hasn't been allowed to really spend on anything other than
reinvest.
Like the odd loan and the odd free transfer like Cahill, who's come out and give it all that when he's fucking charging the ball down on the edge of the box. Embarrassing again. Get a ball in the Jacobs. Get a ball in your face. Stop it going in the back of the fucking net. You're coming out like this. You're a big area centre-back. You know what I mean? Embarrassing. Embarrassing. And you look at the lack of outlay and you think to yourself, like, you've got to feel sorry for the man, but the man's playing the game. Okay. The American owners might want to take a little dividend out of it, or quite a big dividend out of it. You know, location-wise, it's fantastic. You've got Parrish sitting there. He's always got. I've been wondering what advice has been given him for the last 6-7 years. What's his name? Bright, this ex-Palace legend. He's either giving him absolute diabolical advice, or he's giving him good advice, and he's blanking it. He's taking no notice of it, because all they're doing is treading water. And then you've got the ultras. What chance? One cup final every fucking.
But Hodgson's doing his job, though, isn't he?
Anybody.
But Hodgson's doing his job. That's his job.
Listen, you look at every football club now. You're going on about slick PR. You're going on about suits, and I'm going on about like teeth and hair and all the rest of it, right? You know, what they call cosmetic surgery or whatever, right? They're all there. It's like a level. Listen, there's a level of tolerance now, Joe. There's a level of tolerance. It's just like they're on the merry-go-round, right? And you look at clubs and you think 42,000 screaming lunatics, and they think, right? I don't even know what. I can't even recognise the game anymore at times, right? They're going, no, we'll forget the cup. We're going to concentrate on the league. Right? Where's your mind? Where's your mind when the only chance whatsoever you have got of any sort of glory for your fans and your football club is a League Cup or an FA Cup? You're never going to win a Premier League as long as the whole stadium has got an hole in its arse. You understand?
No,
I don't understand. I don't understand it.
But surely, obviously, the higher you finish in the league, you get more money. So they obviously think, well, finishing one place higher than last year, possibly is better than winning the League Cup.
Right. So now you've gone full cycle. You think, and you've gone from, or I have. You've sowed the seed with regards to revenue. Then you've gone all the way around. I've mentioned League Cups and FA Cups. Now you're coming back round to where you finish in the league equals prize money. Well, this is the question: what's happening to that prize money? That's the question that every fan's got to ask in their football club.
Well, it's being siphoned off probably to the owners.
What's happening with that? What's happening with that prize money?
Is it dividends, isn't it?
What is it being given to the manager to set up this super duper academy and like have a slush fund for the top kids in the area? Listen, what I'm going to say, I could give you a list of clubs as long as your arm, right? Who back in the day were giving new kitchens, new cars, envelopes, 10, 20. I could have had an envelope from Palace back in the 75-76 season. We all know what one player got. He got 50 grand. We know what another player got. He got 15 grand. We know that another player got 15 grand. We know that another player got 20 grand. We know that another player got 10 grand. Right? So I was in the pecking order and, you know, a certain fullback got the 50 grand and I got offered 6 grand. You know what I mean? In ready cash in 1975. So we know it's been going on for years. So I don't get the pretense. What's happened is now that old school way of doing things with regards to scouting networks and inducements, let's call them inducements, that's being siphoned off 10-fold, 50-fold, 100-fold to agents in agents' fees that's going out of the country and out of football and out of the pyramid, never to be seen again. You understand what I mean? Yeah. So it brings back, you're going on about, they get X amount if they finish 2 places higher. Well, where's the money going? They ain't giving it to the manager to buy a new centre forward, because you look at teams, recipe for disaster. They couldn't defend to save their life. Right? I've been through it. I'm not talking out of turn. I'm not being a football snob. Right? I've been through it. Don't matter what the manager or a coach has done or tried, right? And the classic example at the moment is Birmingham in the Championship, right? They can't defend to save their life and they can't score. So that's a recipe for disaster. Well, now you've got that situation, which I said back in episode 3. We're now on episode 16. I think I said it episode 3 or 4 about Sheffield United. having second season syndrome because they're quite frankly, they ain't got enough goals in the side and they're not good enough at the back. And what he's done is he's played with it. Unbelievable mental stimulus that he's provided, Wilder, for everybody, including the media and the pundits and people like me watching it. But again, it's like I said, they can't keep being expected to perform magic tricks.
Polishing a turd, yeah. Do you think that the game as it's structured at the moment where, clubs are massively struggling in the lower leagues because of lack of money, obviously COVID has exacerbated that. And then you've got, I don't know, mate, well, they always say there's 3 mini leagues within the Premier League anyway, but you've got a lot of teams in the Premier League that are treading water. Are we looking at signs of a sort of football crash where it could all implode because it's not being managed in the right way? The money isn't going to where it should be going. And basically there's no grassroots, there's no foundation to maintain the game.
The short answer is yes.
Yeah.
Do you want me to give you the reasons why?
Yeah, please do. We're not going to go through all these games, by the way. So but it's a really interesting chat. So we just pursue it. Go
on. Probably since I come out of football, I got my badge in 2003. I've started to take more of an interest, which you do because what happens is you live in a bubble, Joe. All you're interested in is staying fit, training hard, getting your rest. Before I used to go and get me rest when I was at Chelsea, I used to be out every afternoon, every night, and probably ruined the chance I had at the highest level. And then you have to grow up. So I grew up and then I started to take a keen interest in current affairs, politics, etc., cultural things, cultural happenings. And one of them is I've been beating the drum for an MP specifically for football in this country. Right? We've got an MP for culture, media and sport. Well, what the fucking hell is he doing? Right? Because I've said, right, again, they're an embarrassment. They're getting money for old rope. They're thieving a living. They're not pedantic. They're not, pardon the pun, they're not on the ball. They're not up to speed. They can give a list like we all can of problems. You hear them all doing it. From Abbott, who's been in for ages because of demographics, to Galloway, who had 3 terms as MP for Bethnal Green and Bow. I can do it. You can do it. We can give a list as long as your arm and your leg put together of problems. No one comes up with the solutions, right? I like to think, like I said last time, we're a bit different. We try and come up with solutions. My solution, and I've been saying it on social media, I said it in my book, in my second book. I've said it to anyone who wants to listen and raises the issue, raises the point. It's not coordinated well enough. It's not. It's too. Everybody's too ambiguous. There's no joined up writing. There's no joined up thinking. You've just recently had the article in the paper. I don't know if you saw it. The PFA have poo-pooed and completely dismissed a salary cap. So the very game and the very livelihoods of the people. I mean, I was a fucking Indian. I was a no one. I was a lower division player. And I've always said the PFA, apart from one man who ironically was sacked supposedly for being outspoken and in inverted commas bullying. I don't know, that's allegedly. I don't know if that's the truth. He's the only man that I could talk to out there. It was Mick Maguire. He got things done. Right. And I agreed 2 years ago, whenever it was, with Clark Carlisle, that it needed a massive reboot and it needed a massive rethink and it needed massive restructuring the PFA. And the geezer's way past his sell by date. And he's been earning 2.something million a year, this Gordon Taylor. Right. But I'm not talking about giving jobs to black people. I'm not talking about giving jobs to ex-black players like Clark Carlisle, Bobby Barnes, etc. Right. To me, I'd only give jobs to the person that's good enough. Right, so they might well be good enough and they're holding a job down. I suspect that what Clark Carlisle meant 50% of what I mean, and 50% of what he means, which is again, I might be so far wide of the mark, it's unbelievable, but borderline positive discrimination, right? I'm talking about completely restructuring the organisation and restructuring everything so that there's joined up thinking. He's actually dismissed a salary cap. and he's at the thing where he's actually jeopardising the living of the players that he's meant to be protecting, Gordon Taylor. Ergo, the lower divisions, because there's not enough money filtering down into the lower divisions. It's all about the Premier League. And then you look at the Premier League, you've got players thieving a living. And then you look at the Premier League, you've got agents thieving a living. And then, dare I say it, because they're not placing demands and they're shit scared of the players and the agents, you've got managers and coaches thieving a living. You understand? Because they won't stand up to him. But sticking to the original point, listen to what I'm going to say, right? You've got the FA. Oh, let's start from the thing where it's all happening. You've got the Premier League, one organisation. You've got, this is what I've always said, and this is what I said in correspondence, in interviews, in books, right? So you've got the Premier League. You've got the Football Association. You've got the English Football League. You've got the PFA. You've got the League Managers Association. So you've got 5 separate organisations and they can't agree on one fucking thing.
Can I make a point on that? But the only one that matters in that is the FA, really, because they're the stalwarts and the stewards of the game.
Custodians of the game.
Custodians of the game. Yeah. They're the regulators of the game.
Well, if you say so.
Well, they should be, shouldn't they? And obviously they're not fit for purpose, but should we look at them? Should we target them to say someone needs to actually save the game? Someone needs to save the game. The only person that should be saving it and being the custodian is the FA, and they're not. They're allowing money to ruin the game or polarize the game, where those at the bottom will go out of business. And the leagues, you see it in lower leagues. Obviously I'm just a nobody, but even lower league football, the divisions you used to have 10 divisions on a Sunday, and Premier all the way down to whatever. There's now 2. You used to have we had the shit league with the spanners in it, and you had a better league. They're now merging into one because there's not enough people playing the game, and it's shrinking. The game is shrinking at grassroots. And
I was right. Listen,
the rot set in, isn't it?
Yeah, well, to a degree, I apologise because I was looking down, I was laughing. You were saying what you were saying. I was rolling my eyes. It's stuff that I said 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 years ago when I did my badges at the age of 28, right, with regards to the coaching syllabus. And all they've got to do, the FA, this is a bit of self-PR, all they've got to do is give me the equivalent of 1 year's Southgate salary, and they'd get their money back inside a year on courses. You understand, with regards to restructuring the syllabus. And I could go ball deep with everything. You understand? The core element ain't too bad, right? But when you line it up with regards to other European football associations, right? In answer to your question, it's an extortionate amount of money to go on a course. The course fundamentally, in my opinion, is not thorough enough. So / piss take. And then lastly, most importantly, if you're successful and you gain the qualification, right, there's not enough jobs. Right. So with regards to what you're saying about the thing, I was reading a thing earlier. I don't know whether he was one of the ones who was a crackerjack. Einstein smoked the opium or whatever he done, got on the toot and all that. And he said something about along the lines of to be successful, you've got to embrace change. Right. Well, it's something along them lines, word for word. I've got it over there somewhere. And I'm looking at it.
It's evolve or die, isn't it? It's social Darwinism. Yeah.
And I'm looking at the FA now, and I just think like they're so archaic, and it's so much part of the establishment. That's the only reason they're surviving.
So the government is the only thing that can break it up and change it, because they're not going to change themselves.
Well, you got the patron who's I'll call him Prince William. He's the patron, right? So that shows you how integrated it all is into the establishment, because what's he ever had to do with football? You know what I mean? For me, the patron or the head of it should be someone who's a football person, a football man. Yeah. Right. And then it's all got to be coordinated. And then what you're talking about lower leagues, I said it, like I said again, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 years ago. It should all be regionalised. Because if it isn't in terms of outlay, right, and travelling and overnight stays, it's crippling football clubs.
Well, capitalism, it's almost like football is run like a business. It's the capitalism has kind of embedded now within football. But the problem is, football shouldn't be. Football is a pastime and a hobby and a way for kids to keep fit. It's not, the business in the Premier League has nothing to do with kids playing football on the park. And
I said it last week. I've been hearing about grassroots since the mid-'80s when I started taking my badges. And so I'm listening to the same bullshit 36 years later. I'm listening to the same waffle and bullshit.
It's got worse, isn't it?
Oh yeah, and then you look at the sponsors. They're more confused than Scooby-Doo. I don't know who the sponsors are now lately, but when I was doing the courses, the sponsors were McDonald's. So I talk about confused messages. We're all this about we're an obese nation and all that. And get kids out, get them playing football, get grassroots football going. Oh yeah, here's your bib. It's got McDonald's all over it. So then the kid plays football and then he's on his way and he said, Dad, can we go and have a Big Mac meal? Do you know what I mean? So it's totally confused and conflicting messages. You know what I mean? And I just think like it's just totally disorganised. I think, look, I'm going to make enemies, Joe, right, with regards to my second book, because I just think like that we've got to a stage now where.
Can you do me a favour on it? Can you say something nice about me in it? Don't dig me out.
I'll daresome. I never would. You're a gentleman. You're a gentleman and a scholar. No,
thank you.
No, with regards to, I just think it's so poorly coordinated, and I just think now we've got to a stage where football and politics is unfortunately fully entwined, and I think that the national side, I just think like football in general in this country with regards to, I think it's a massive reflection of our society. I think it's a massive reflection of this country. It's a massive reflection of the United Kingdom. I think the United Kingdom has become a dumping ground for some creme de la creme, and also for some like unbelievably average foreign exports. And I think that goes for that's the same in every profession. You've got the creme de la creme, and then it's become a dumping ground for double average foreign exports, and then also added to that, it's an ATM for the rest of the world. It's an ATM for the rest of the world. It's an automatic something money machine for the rest of the world.
You mentioned before, I don't know if it was on another podcast or me reading some of your tweets, but you could start the process. Obviously, I wouldn't say death by 1,000 cuts, but whatever the opposite of that is, it would be take a long time to make the change. It'd be like turning a cruise line around. But you mentioned about how German clubs do it, where fans have either own the club or have a mandatorily listened to when it comes to strategic decisions that the club undertake. And that is actually common in Germany from a business point of view. Even the workers have boards and stuff as part of companies. So very egalitarian, borderline communist type arrangement. Is that?
Well, listen, it gives.
Is that something we can start here? Maybe at the lower leagues, or is there no point?
Well, the lower divisions. I mean, I believe in fans' trusts. I mean, I suggested it with regards to one or two of my old clubs, like Leyton Orient and Gillingham. But particularly Leyton Orient, I said it's crying out for a fans' trust to be to have more control. This was under one of the previous owners that Barry Earn sold out to when he was in charge, Bichetti. But I just that
ship's
the ultimate, a long time ago. But the ultimate say has got to be with football people. It's got to be to do with turnover, etc., because it's slightly counterintuitive to what you're saying. Although it might be the reason that what you're saying, the thing you're talking about, people, workers having a say, etc., companies. It might be the reason why Germany have conquered Europe economically. They tried to do it militarily, but they've ended up conquering Europe economically. And then you look at the evidence. You read the papers on a Monday. You look at the in inverted commas the most competitive league in Europe, the Premier League. Well, it's not. It's not because now you've got different people at the top in Spain, Atletico Madrid. You've got different people at the top. In Italy, you've got a points gap, a lot less than the points gap between Manchester City and Man United. So how is our league more competitive? Then you look at the relegation zones, the points gap is fewer than the points gaps over here. So it's all a myth. It's all a myth. It's to sell the product.
PR and bullshit again.
Yeah, it's to sell the product. If you look around Europe, if you read what's going on in Spanish football, Italian football, French football, German football to a degree, although it tends to be the same ones in Germany out of one or two teams, but it's normally Bayern Munich that prevail. But then saying that, you say, well, I'll tell you what, that's because they've got like tried and trusted football people involved and running it for decades now. Rummenigge. Right, but if you look at the others, like I think they've come a tumble now. PSG, they're not at the top anymore. So, I think that's proven that like a country's GDP don't necessarily mean you're going to win your league. You know what I mean? It's a case of always doing things properly. I got annoyed with myself today. I was talking to myself today while I was indoors trying to do a chore. And I'm thinking, like, why are you so pedantic? You know what I mean? Why does it matter that it's got to be done properly? I was almost telling myself off.
What, doing the chore?
Yeah, but no, just doing it, making sure it was done right.
Yeah, on the chore, yeah. Well, Muhammad Ali said it, didn't he? He said if he weren't a boxer and he was a dustman, he'd be the best dustman in the world.
Yeah, it's like but the problem is, I gave you the analogy before with regards to driving. Well, that's what it is in football. You've got people, you comply, you conform with a certain syllabus, with a coaching syllabus. Yes, sir, no, sir, 3 bags full, sir. You show your coaching acumen, right? Well, it's the same with driving. You do your lessons. You've got to drive a certain way, 2:45 or 2:50. Yes, sir, no, sir, 3 bags full, sir. Answer the questions on certain things which we do to the highway code. But then guaranteed, absolutely guaranteed, unequivocally, without question, right? You'll get people who are going to go away. They get their first car, unbelievable, fantastic driver. They get their set of keys to their first car, the next category. For want of a better word, they're not really like, it's like, no, there's nothing on the road, Joe. But like I just said, like when I went to the garage today, for them to have a look at me cab for something, I just said, I can't believe they're driving out there. There's no one on the road, but people are driving like massive. You understand? And they all started laughing. And then the third category is forget good driving, forget bad driving, forget good coaching, and forget bad coaching. There's people who shouldn't have been allowed near a set of ignition keys.
Do you know what I think? You know, remember when you was at school and then you had the summer holidays and you come back from the summer holidays and you forgot how to write? Did you ever have that? Where you think, I haven't written for ages and you can't. It's not as joined up as it used to be. I think that's what's happening with people driving. They've forgotten how to drive. Maybe.
But I you know, I don't know. Maybe I'm being a bit flash. I was in the top 2 sets. There was sets 1 to 6. The top sets were 1 and 2. 3 was average. 4, 5, and 6 were dim lows.
You know, I can't believe it. Very smart man.
Well, what I did, I was just staring out the window. I got bored very quickly. I had a very low boredom threshold. I was just dreaming. Once I went to the Arsenal as a 12-year-old, I was just dreaming of being a professional footballer. All I wanted to do was sport.
So that's a slight dig at me to keep it interested. Biggest
what it is me being pedantic again.
Hello,
it was the biggest regret of my life, Joe. Biggest regret of my life. Right. No, you are very, very engaging and very stimulating. That's why Excellent. I think you should do all the interviews.
All right, nice one, appreciate it. Right, we've done an hour, so we won't go through the games. Obviously, we'll be all night.
Oh, skip through them if you want. No, I'll just go massive mistake in the thing, and then that's it.
I think we've done Palace, Burnley. So we got let's do a minute on each one. Palace, Burnley. Palace 0, Burnley 3. As Dyche turned the corner.
Yes.
Stay up.
Never doubted him for a minute.
Yeah.
Never doubted him for a minute.
Palace, will they stay up? Or was this is this kind of existential?
They'll stay up, but they'll stay up because of Roy's ability to get blood out of a stone.
Yeah.
And the fact that there'll be 3 worse teams without Premier League experience, or might have just hit a brick wall, who are going to be worse than them and will go down.
Okay. Man City 3, Tottenham 0. although Spurs lost, did you see any signs of Mourinho slightly changing his in the way he played and trying to be a little bit more expansive? Did you notice that? Or are they just are they now just going to languish in mid-table for the rest of the season?
I think the latter.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the former. I think he's world class at distracting, diverting, making excuses. Yeah. Come out, wagging his finger at the penalty. I had to look at it 3 or 4 times, I'll be honest with you, before I thought it was a penalty. So I'll give him the benefit of the doubt there. But with regards to we've tried to do this, we've tried to do that, and we've come unstuck, then what it is, it's like a distraction, a diversion, trying to get punters on his side with regards to pointing the finger. Rightly or wrongly, there's a common denominator, which tends to be what I went over on the last podcast. They've gone through so many, in inverted commas, up and coming and or world class or top draw managers, right all the way back to George Graham. You've got to start to question whether the regime that's running things is running it in the best interests of helping the manager, the team, and bringing glory to the supporters. So what he's done is he's highlighted the fact that maybe we're not as good as you think we are if we went gung-ho going forward.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I do. So he's kind of called their bluff a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And listen, he's caked. He was probably worth about 40-50 million. He can afford to call anyone's bluff.
Yeah. Who can catch City then?
I'm looking at it realistically. I didn't want to. I mean, we've done the last podcast, and I just went from there to there straight away. I said I don't really necessarily agree with what they said last night, and I didn't elaborate on it. What they were saying on Match of the Day is the title's over, and what I tried to intimate was that as a professional, it's never over, until it's absolutely mathematical impossible. But realistically, I think Man United had more of a chance than possibly Leicester of catching them. Leicester, obviously, the surprise package up to now, thus far. Realistically, I don't think anyone will catch them now.
No. Okay. So Brighton Villa was a ball draw. Obviously, Mr. Potter is doing well. But I just want a quick question on Grealish. He's playing out on the left. He's really
First of all, that's a poor result, Joe. For Villa. That's a no disrespect to Brighton. That's a very poor result. If they've got aspirations, Villa, of maybe Europa League and get like a current vein of form, shall we say, it's been a lot more good than bad throughout the season. So a vein of form, keep that going. I think that's very, very poor on their part.
I just, my take on it was just Grealish was poor, probably the poorest game I've seen, but he's been stuck out on the left. Should he be playing in the middle to try and, create something? He's not on the ball as much.
We spoke earlier. Listen, we spoke earlier about the name they give it, Moneyball. I just think it's a case of common sense. You get decent young players in, decent young prospects. You coach them really, really well. You bed in really, really good habits, and you hone their technique and you polish their strengths and work on their weaknesses. And that's what they've done with Ollie Watkins. But I'm not being funny. Aston Villa are basically relying on Ollie Watkins, who's come from Brentford. Right? Well, that's unacceptable for a club of Villa's size. Yeah. And then all said and done. So that's the guy that's meant to be putting the ball in the back of the net. But then, to be fair to him, he's done. I think he's done really well. I'd be delighted with him if I was his boss or his coach. But then, by the same token, I think it's wrong to rely so much on Grealish. I really do. I really do.
We've got Barkley back as well now, so he should be taking a bit of the load.
A bit lighten the load a little bit, yeah.
Right, let's move on to the next one because Southampton 1, Wolves 2. Southampton, I think, have lost 6 in a row.
Yeah, mess. It's a bit of a thing. Don't put them in your coupon. I mean, that's a bit of revenge for the previous midweek cup tie, isn't it? Where Wolves got beat at home in the FA Cup by Southampton, and they go to Southampton, and Southampton lose at home to Wolves in the league. What's that about? Do you know what I mean?
Two very similar sides, aren't they?
Yeah, they're predictably unpredictable.
Yeah, good way to sum that one up. Obviously, Man United drew with your ex-nemesis Sam Allardyce's West Brom. Thoughts on that one?
Shocked, absolutely shocked.
Yeah, Allardyce did a job again.
Yeah, he did. Yeah. But I'll tell you what, Man United forget the press conference. I obviously only saw the highlights, right? But based on what I saw, they were lucky to get the draw. Because the new guy up front, he should have had that trick.
Oh, yeah. And Maguire, what did you think of? I think when he missed that big chance that the West Brom centre forward, Maguire done the dive.
Yes.
Did you remember that?
That? Yeah, I do. Yeah, first of all, he dived. Then he tried. Then there's an afterthought. He never had the whistle go, and he tried to pull him down, and then he still missed it. And then De Gea's, I think he saved it, and it spun up, and then that's the right. One he got up quick, and he poured it away. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah. It was worrying.
Well, it was worrying because like you're going to come up against forwards like him with pace and power, who are going to be all hustle and bustle in the Euros, and deal with. Patsy Holland at Leyton Orient used to have a saying: "Deal with it, Sits, deal with it." He'd scream at you from the touchline, right? And I knew what he meant, and he knew that I knew what I was doing, and I knew what he meant, and he knew that I knew what he meant. So it's a case of don't make a mistake, deal with it. Have your rows after. If you wanted it to look polished and sophisticated, where you might have got your backside in and done the matador bit, or you might have fainted and then give it back to the goal. You know what I mean? Nah, deal with it. Deal with it. Yeah.
But they're diving now. It's only come into the game the last couple of years, 2 or 3 years, it seems to be, where centre halves are diving in their quartile of the pitch.
That's up to them.
That's absolutely.
Yeah,
I agree. It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, I agree. I think it sends out the wrong messages. It sends out. I remember ex-teammate of mine. I ain't.
Have you ever dived? Have you ever dived?
No.
Would you dive?
No, never. I'll be honest, it never crossed my mind. Someone had to really. At Chelsea, Ken Shalato banned 5-a-side for a little while because what I was just talking about, I actually did. I actually got up the side of a centre forward. He had a good career in Scandinavia actually. In the end, Richard Wilson, little pocket battleship. I got my body in and got the ball off him, and then he's had a nibble at me, right? And then what I've done is I've used my body and I've done the matador bit. So then he's just gone fuck it, and he's just kicked me legs away about knee height. When you feel the contact, you ride it. So thankfully, I'll never cop for any sort of injury. If I had done, I'd have come back and ironed him out, teammate or not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I basically knew to show a bit of respect, but which you do. It's a reciprocal thing. But Ken Shalato said, "I'm fucking not having that." He blew up. He said, "I'm not having that." And he banned 5-a-sides.
Did you hear the story of Graham Souness, who was manager of Blackburn, crocking Andy Cole because he wound him up on the training ground, and he was his star signing? Did you hear that story?
Yeah,
it's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah. Listen, what you can see in Souness, it happens to everybody. Well, not everybody, most people, right? Is when you've just let go of a playing career, and there was no playing career more illustrious than his playing career. And you go over to the management side, it's very, very difficult. And when you know like the way you'd have handled it as a player, you could see that happening. I heard he topped Jack Charlton as well in the keeper when he was at Middlesbrough. People forget he was a Spurs apprentice and a young pro Souness, and he weren't getting in the side, so he threw a strop, and they let him go to Middlesbrough, and he was part of the Middlesbrough promotion side under Jack Charlton. But they was having a keeper in the circle, and he fucking upped him as well. I mean, I've got my own opinions on him. I mean, I never named any names, but he was the one in the tunnel. We were playing Liverpool at home, and Ray Wilkins is leading the team out, and he spun round, and he said to me, Mickey Nutton and Eamon Bannon, who's playing. No, he didn't play that day, Bannon. They hadn't signed him yet. He wouldn't have needed to tell Ronnie Harris, which I'll come to. He spun round. He says to me and Mickey Nutton, "Sits, Nuts, be careful if you get anywhere near Souness." He said, "Be careful if you get a 50-50 with him, he'll go over the top and he'll try and break your leg." But there was a 10-meter exclusion zone around Ronnie Harris. He never fucking went anywhere near him. That tells me he was a bully and a thug. He'd have been all right ironing me out. I was a fucking 19-year-old, 12 stone 2, dripping wet. You know what I mean? I made Phil Thompson look like the Incredible Hulk. But it was a 10-meter exclusion zone. He never went anywhere near Ronnie Harris. It would have been too sharp up here for him and too strong for him.
if he had done, would Ron have got him back for you?
Well, he did.
Sort of the character.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he did. He did.
Yeah.
I'll cop for an elbow off of Davies Johnson. It might have been an accident. I was textbook defending. He had his back to me. He had the ball played up to him. I couldn't get round him to nick it. So I just got low, touch tight, and I reacted only to the ball. He was trying to wriggle his arse and shake his hips and all that. And I'm seeing him, and he come back with his elbow and caught me. And then the next time he got a ball played up to him was right by the Liverpool dugout. You actually see it if you could see it on YouTube. And I'm jockeying him, and Ronnie's just come from nowhere and just fucking gone whack and just kicked him up in the air. He got a yellow card, actually. So that's him saying, don't take liberties with the kids.
Yeah. It's great.
Yeah.
It's a shame that's not in the game so much anymore. Right, we've got to move on quickly. Arsenal 4-0 up against Leeds, and Leeds clawed it back to 4-2. But big scoring game. Arsenal looking good. Thoughts?
Yeah, good at trick about time.
Aubameyang. Yeah.
Yeah, I just think like when you look at the Leeds thing, I think it's becoming a bit of a false phenomenon. I think it's a bit mythical there. You know what I mean? It's all this. Even him, Lord Hudson talks about him. Oh, he's a revered coach. He might well be a revered coach. So there's something lost in translation. And it's like I've always said, footballers don't need an excuse. They do not need an excuse. And if they do need an excuse, they'll make one up. Right, so there's something getting lost in translation here, whereby I'm looking at Leeds and I could not believe the size of the gaps between players and between units that were magnificently exploited by Arsenal.
Okay, Fulham beat Everton away 2-0.
Result of the weekend, wasn't it?
Account for the loss. And is it about time Parker got some respect?
Well, it depends who you are. I think he commands a certain amount of respect from people who know the game. People like me who watched him play. People like me who were beating the drum for him to go to South Africa. When we got another fucking idiot in charge, they talk about his thing at Milan, Capello. My woman could have won with that. Championships and European Cups with that team.
Bad side, yeah.
Now forget about it. You know what I mean? Then he comes here.
Forget about it.
He rumps us for 20 million, and he says, "I'm only going to take the players who are fit and in form." And it rankles with me. You know what I mean?
He took Leslie King, didn't he?
Well, yeah. I mean, Scott Parker carried West Ham on his shoulders that season, and then he takes the goalkeeper who's like basically fucking shell shocked. With shots and crosses and goals and the ball lit in the back of the net 3, 4, 5 times a game. And who's it? What's his name? The geezer? Green.
Rob Green.
Yeah, he's shell shots. You can't put him in an international arena. I was proved right. The Mickey Mouse goal against America. Yeah. And then he takes Ledley King, can't train for a week, and he can only play. He can't one game in every 10 days, I think, at the time, where he was nursing this diabolical knees condition. What's that about? Yeah. So I always carry a bit of a torch for Parker. So I think he's always had people who know football or who are in football will always give him that, like, doff their cap to him. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They'll still go down.
Okay. Last 2 games, West Ham 3, Sheffield United 0.
Yeah. Big surprise to me that was.
Was it? Okay.
Well, I'll be honest with you, Joe. I thought to myself, I don't know if it's just like a smoke screen, trying to buy a bit of time. They were talking about like West Ham having 3 or 4 injuries to vital players. I said, taking that into account, obviously I don't know for sure who's going to play on the night. Sheffield United, really, they've got a lot of pressure on them from the Fulham result at Everton, but I think they're scrapping their battle and their nick a draw. And then I looked at the thing on the telly, and the body language of the Sheffield United players was nothing short of diabolical. But particularly when the third goal, at the end, when the third goal went in, they've given up. They've given up.
They didn't even try and close him down. I mean,
nah.
What's his face? The Jagielka. I mean, Tank springs to mind there. He shouldn't have been on the pitch.
Yeah, and 2 weeks ago, he was getting accolades. He was getting accolades for a result somewhere of like Goodison. And they'd gone back there and they'd nicked a win or a draw, whatever. I forget the result, but anyway, he was receiving accolades. Just goes to show you within the space of a couple of 3 weeks. But they look like they've given up. They're capitulated.
Yeah, it's the Simon Jordan thing, the ups and downs. Last one then, Chelsea 2, Newcastle 0. Tuchel, it's a procession at the moment. He's waiting for him to feel the heat of the Premier League, and he's not felt it yet. He just keeps blasting teams away at the moment.
Yeah, that's not an unexpected result. I thought it'd be more goals, Joe, to be honest with you. And I think that he's put. Actually, someone asked me the other day, literally yesterday. I'm sure it was yesterday. Who do I make favourites for the tin tack? And I said I could see Bruce now being right under pressure, and he might come into that category again.
For the non-Cockneys, that means sack.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. I think he's. But like again, the only thing that might get him out of jail is the fact that there might be 3 worse teams. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But
I think now bringing him in now, right, very quickly. I just think like it's reignited Chelsea's season. I think they're in with a great shout of if they keep the run going, leapfrogging Leicester, maybe putting a bit of pressure on Man United, and maybe even putting a bit of pressure on Man City.
Okay.
You never know.
Okay, you heard it here first.
15, what is it, 14, 15 games to go?
14, played 23, so it's usually 30, 38.
38, yeah.
38,
so 15 games to go. Still a lot of points to play for, mate. Yeah. Okay. It's not over until you're in the air going to Orlando.
All right, well, on that bombshell, thanks, John. Another good sesh. As always, everyone, John will be retweeting the video when it comes out. The Football Uncensored podcast will obviously be tweeting it out. Please retweet it. Please like it. Try and spread the word because we want to get the gang back together when things open up. And, please do let us know. John's here, a fountain of knowledge and experience. I'm sure there's a lot of you out there in cyberspace and on Twitter and on YouTube that'd be interested to hear John's thoughts on stuff. So let me know, let John know, and we'll ask you the questions, John. Because
I think what we'll endeavour to do, Joe, is set up a thing where if we do like maybe a longish one, well, which we do 90 minutes. So I think it's very apt that the game's 90 minutes and we do it for 90 minutes, right? But if we do 90 minutes, 2 hours, where people can come in and ask questions.
Yeah, we do a live one. We do a live one, at some point. Yeah.
I'll try and do a live one. Yeah, whatever medium it's going to go out on, and we'll give everyone a bit of notice, and then we'll take it from there.
Yeah, cool. Okay, everyone. Goodbye from me.
Good night, all. Yeah. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and we'll speak to you next time.
All the best. Cheers, guys. Thanks.